We're back. It's COMP1002. It's week 3, lesson 3, part 2. We just finished talking about the assignment number 2. And now we're going to get kind of into the meat and bones of what we're talking about today. Again, I'm up on concept board for those people who want to join me. So we can have more of an interactive session. If you want to know where that is, we're here at this link. Some people, I know I got a bunch of joiners here down at the bottom. I can see there's all kinds of people who joined up with me. Again, it's app.conceptboard.com/board, and then this funky address. And again, we're going to use concept board as a communication tool today. Okay. I've got the PowerPoint presentation I'm going to quickly go through. There are, again, it's very straightforward stuff for this lesson. We're kind of sticking to the book in terms of our chapters. And we're really hitting chapter 4, which is all around text. So let's talk about this a little bit. I'll bring this down here for a second. And what is this stuff we talk of today? So there's a lot of stuff to cover on this one. It looks like a lot of piece parts to our objectives for today. Like, for example, how to add a paragraph and so on. But we've done some of this already, right? We know how to do. We know how to do a. Sorry about that. I got that annoying. Let's see if we can turn my guides off. Yeah. How about we just turn the guides off altogether? Guides. There we go. We kind of have done paragraph tags before, right? So it's not like we haven't done some of this stuff. An example as we get through. The PowerPoint is just talking about how to format text in different ways. The same kind of stuff we've done already, right? It's just a few additional tags that you may or may not know about, right? Some of you already know the basic tags, H1 to H6 heading tags as a review, right? And then we also have how we format the head, the body of the document. So if I was going to bring up a new folder here, let's go into actually, we're going to brackets here, okay? And let me just bring up another folder, which I'm going to kind of share with you today. So let's go into the folder. I'm going to rename this thing COMP1002, and we'll call it lesson 3. And again, from a brackets perspective, if you remember how this works, you just drag and drop onto brackets so that it creates our kind of a reference to our folder structure. And from here, I can add new folders or files, or I can do it right from my folder structure right here, right? So that's another thing we can do. So let's take a look. If I go to new folder, and again, this is what my recommended folder structure should be. So I'd recommend you kind of follow along with me, do it with me. So it's better to be hands-on than just to watch, right? Although again, some people like to watch. That's the way they learn. So it's all around what you want to do. But for me, I want to make a content folder where I'm going to keep my CSS. That's where it's going to be. We've talked about CSS a bunch of times, but I haven't really shown you how to do any CSS. Let's do a couple of other things. I also want to do a new folder on assets with capital A, where I keep my images and sounds and all that kind of stuff, right? So content, assets. And then another one eventually we'll do is something called scripts. So I kind of, when we start doing talking about JavaScript, I'm just preparing you. You probably won't even use these ones here at the beginning, but I try and at least have a few folders like this when I set up my my web project structure, right? And I do this because it's organized. It's better to keep organized early as opposed to reorganizing later. There's a lot more rework involved when you start off, right? I also want to kick off on you some pages here. Let's talk about this a little bit. Go back. And so if you notice here in brackets, it's mirroring what I see in my folder structure. So again, I'm on the Mac, but you can see that there's 3 subfolders in my COMP1002 lesson 3 folder. And I've got my assets, content, and scripts here. And now I'm going to add in a new file. So index.html, which is what we want to call everything, right? That's one kind of a simple question you'll have on a test. Like let's say we might do a little quiz next week, hint, hint. Probably at the beginning of class, I'll have a little quiz for like, let's say 10 questions, something like that, that will ask you some questions around these last 3 weeks. So a few multiple choice, true, false kind of questions, right? It'd be worth a very small amount of marks. But just to get you guys, keep you guys sharp, I'll ask you some simple questions, and it'll be an open book quiz, right? Based on the PowerPoint presentations that I've already shown you. You'll have a short amount of time. It'll be a timed exercise. And you go up on Blackboard, answer a few questions, and then you're done, right? So let's talk about folder structure here. We've done the folder. We've got everything we need here, but we need to kind of set up our web page. And again, I'm just going to start from scratch as if you've never seen it before. Again, we need a doc type, right? So we need a doc type. And am I missing anything in my doc type? Can I just do that? Is that good enough? What's wrong with the doc type? Yes. Should I do XML first or the doc type first? Okay, but how do I do the doc type? Is it just doc type, or do I type something else? Exclamation mark doc type, right? That's stuff that kills people when they don't see this. They don't know. They don't remember how to do this. So doc type. I need to put HTML in there, right? There's other options, but that's the first thing. This is all review. And then after that, I need to put my HTML tag. This is a reminder, and then inside there, the head tag. You know, as an example, and underneath the head tag, a body tag. So we kind of structure our HTML just like this, just like normal, right? In our head, again, I recommend at least 2 meta tags, okay, when we start off. One meta tag is going to be character sets is equal to UTF-8. That's one that I want you to include. And the other one would be name is equal to viewport, right? And content is equal to width is equal to device width. You may have seen this already, may not. Initial scale is equal to 1, right? And this is a good one to have in for mobile devices, right? So when you have mobile devices, tablet, and so on, because remember nowadays the web isn't just about desktop anymore. Thank God. It's about reflowing your pages into different viewports. So you're going to reflow your page content into a tablet or mobile device, right? And if we don't talk about that, right, in the fundamentals, that should be almost like a fundamental these days, right? When we talk about responsive web design, right, and how to kind of affect that. This is one of the key tags to use, you know, as an example, when you do responsive web design, the viewport tag. And what it tells us is that, hey, our content, the width of our content is equal to the device width. So whatever your width is going to reflow depending on the size of my viewport, okay? Now, immediately, it doesn't make a big change for us, but it does work better on, again, different mobile devices. Okay, let's take a look at the other tag we need is a title tag. And we want to kind of have some title like COMP1002, you know, lesson 3. That's kind of our title. In here, inside of our, if we have any kind of CSS, we would have it in here. So I'm going to kind of make a remark here, make a little comment. Oops. This would be like CSS section in here. That would be one. And then that's where my CSS would go. So if I have style sheets that are attached to my page, I put it there. Okay? Typical page that you normally would see. Now, you're going to learn about styles in this course and how to affect formatting to your pages, and there's a few ways to do that, right? You can do things in line, right? Which means within an element, you can do things like add in width and style, type of the fonts, and so on. You could do that every element. I know some of you did that. I saw some of your pages, and some people had inline styles in your page. Which is better than what we're doing here right now because we haven't had any styles. We haven't talked about styles at all, right? There's also a page style. So you can put some styles, a style tag at the top of your page, and then kind of your whole page has a certain style, right? But really the best way to do it is to have a separate file, right? CSS file, if you will, that's separate from your page. And we'll talk about that later on in more detail. But you want to have a separate file in its own directory, its own folder, right? And it would be something like this. If I look at my content, I can right-click on my content. I kind of add a new file, and we're going to make it so it's a new CSS file. We're going to name it app.css because let's say this is our CSS for this little web app we're kind of putting together. If you notice, it's an empty file. Yeah.
Should we be putting a separate subfolder for content so that you can know your CSS file together? Or?
Right here.
No, I understand that's another one. So you get CSS because you've got other content.
You might. I mean, it's term. You know, when we say content, it's a funny name that I'm using. Usually, you might see this online or in your book that says just says CSS. But the reason why I'm using the content folder name as a convention is because it matches up with not only everyone else's convention, but also Microsoft. So if you ever want to import this thing on in the future, you might have to do this in future courses where you kind of take your files and then move them into a Microsoft environment. Content is their CSS folder. Right? That's what it is. That's why I'm using it. But certainly, I mean, you have, as a webmaster, you have full control over how you want to name your structure. It's all around you, right? As long as you keep a consistent way of doing things. For example, if you want to call yourself CSS, it's okay. I'm not going to cry about it, right? It's all around how you want to structure things. I'm recommending content, but you don't have to make it that way. Okay, so I've got my app.css, and I'm back to my index.html. So this is where I want to add it in. I don't have anything in there right now. Who knows how to link this on? Who knows how to put this app.css? We haven't really talked about linking files before, but there might be some of you out there that know how to do it already, right? So how do I do that? How do I link my app.css into my file? So let's go up to concept board. So instead of you shouting it out, let's go up to that concept board here. And are you on concept board with me? Are you on concept board with me? Okay, so go on concept board, throw down a sticky, and put it in there. And if someone else has an idea how to do that, and if you don't want to raise your hand because you know how, try it out. Put it up on concept board. There we go. I got one person that's going to put that up, mystyle.css. I'm just going to move this one for you guys, right? So I'm going to kind of take this one. I'm going to click on my pointer. That's how we do it. There's another one. I'm going to move this over here. This is the suggestion, right? I'll move this one over here too, just because there's another suggestion over here. So I'm just moving your stuff, guys. Sorry, I don't want to bother you too much, but you know how it is. I'm trying to organize what we're seeing. So link, you know, this rel attribute style sheet type is the text CSS, and then whatever my style is. Here's another one. Content. Someone came up with main CSS. I called mine app.css, so it'd be very similar to this. But this is correct. These two examples would be right. So let's do that. Let's go back into my my brackets here and do that. So I say link, right, and then rel, right, is equal to again style sheet, right. And then href, and if you notice, it gives me in brackets, it gives me some suggestions. It says, hey, we noticed that you have a content folder. Do you want to point to your content? And I would say yes. Okay, now I know that I want to use content as an example, and then it's going to be app.css because that's the one I have in there. So I'm going to click on that as well, and then close up my my tag. Okay, so that really links my style sheet. My style sheet right now, my app.css in this particular case, is empty. There's nothing that it's going to do for me right now. But this is the way we do it. This is kind of our flow in terms of linking our style sheet to our page, right? So we want to kind of do that, and then from there we can add contents, and then apply styles or to our the classes that we have embedded in our page. Okay, anyone have questions around this so far? Okay, good. I'm hoping not. Just saying. Okay. Okay, so let's get into the next piece. So now I'm into the body. I'm off of the head of my document. I still don't have any content to speak of, and I got to add my content. And I want to kind of divide this into sections. So of course we talked about this last time. Again, this is all review from the last few weeks, right? Let's talk about our first part. I'd want to probably have a header, right? That's kind of the first piece I want, right? And underneath my header, I want some kind of main section, right? That's my main section. At the very minimum, you should have something like this. And then at the bottom, some kind of footer. So I got my header, my footer, those kind of things are in there, right? We talked about these things as well last week. So, kind of basic tags that we have to format our page. Still no content. I'm just creating my markup before I put my content in place. It's almost like I'm creating my page structure. I'm thinking about how it's going to be, right? and I got to think to myself, do I want to have a sidebar? Do I want to have some kind of additional content that connects to my content? We also talked about navigation. We haven't done anything but simple, bulleted navigation with hyperlinks right now. But we talked about navigation. Who knows how to put together, the style for navigation? I want to put it in a nav element. Let's go back to concept board here, and let's see if you've got some ideas about navigation. So put together a little simple navigation that, with a nav. I have remember I talked about this 5-page site? What are the 5 main pages to every site pretty much that are out there? Anybody remember? Come on. Home, products, services, about me, and contact me. That is like the 5 pages. It's actually silly pages, 5 silly pages that exist almost on every bloody site that are out there, right? And they have some variations. Instead of products, it's projects. Instead of services, it's something else. But at the end of the day, it's very similar to these 5 pages. So let's take a look and see. Okay, here's a suggestion here that one of you popped up, right? So I've got this. I'm going to go into my arrow here. I'm just going to bring it so we can see it. I'm going to bring it over here. It's going to kind of come up in my middle of my screen here. Okay, let's do that again. And move it over here. We'll move these ones off, not because I don't like them, but because we're talking about a different topic over here. So I'm just going to put these over here. And we'll pop this over here so you guys can see it. So this is kind of, this makes sense. I'm going to edit this one just to reformat what it looks like. So I'm going to kind of put this to the left here like this, format it a little bit more. So forgive my formatting, whoever did this one. And again, I like the anonymity of this. Oh, here's another one over here. I can't forget this one. Someone else did it. Let's talk about this one here. I'll bring this one up over here, right? And I'll move that one across. I don't know why they're popping up centered. Maybe it was just that way I started things off today. I'm going to kind of go in there and highlight all this, and it's centered, kind of go into text line to the left. All right. So let's talk about this for a second. Let's bring these up, and I'll move this. I'll zoom out a little bit, just a touch, so we can see both. Okay, so here's one. This came from my example from last week, pretty much, where we have homes, product service, or home product services about us and contact us, with even a class that's built in, the active class. And over here we have an example of a partial example of a UL, an unordered list inside of nav, and then list items and so on. I'm glad to see that you guys, a couple of you, have kind of put this together. I probably want to use this example only because it's more complete, not because this is wholly wrong. It's good. I mean, home product services about us and contact us, right? So the good thing about concept board, I can go in here and just kind of copy your example since I like it, right? This is what I want to talk about. And go back to my brackets, right? Inside my header, I'm just going to kind of, Control V or Command V on the Mac and just populate that in there. Right? So that's good. That's how it should be looking, right? Nav, we have a class of active. Now, again, we usually have this class of active, right? And I kind of explained this last day, and usually we kind of assign something special to this class from a CSS perspective to format our home page so it looks different, the link looks different than the rest of our links, right? So it's almost like, hey, this is our home page. And then when we have multiple pages in our document, in our project, right? Multiple pages. As an example, we have, and if I go to my products page, then my active link, this class, I'm not going to put it on my home page. I'm going to put it on the list item, the LI, of my products page, right? So then that shows to be active. So when I move to the next page, the active link moves. That's all it is, right? And it looks a little different than, let's say, the rest of my page. So I'm going to save that. Okay, so I've got a bit of a nav happening right here, right? And in my main article, I don't have an article, there's nothing in my article, but I want to put a header, right? So let's make it an H1. And again, semantically, from an SEO perspective as well, search engine optimization, H1s are very, very important because it kind of highlights what my page is about in some ways. So again, this is my main heading, let's say, or first heading, whatever the article is about. That's what this is, right? And I just used my short forms right there just by off the top of my head. I didn't mean to. And also I want to have a paragraph tag, a P tag. These are my shortcuts now, going back to shortcuts. With a greater than sign, that's the way to do it. Greater than sign means I want a paragraph tag that contains, this is using Emmet again for those people who haven't done this before, that contains some kind of lorem text, some kind of a placeholder text. That's all this is, because I don't have my article right now, with about 50 characters, right, or 50 words. And I'm going to press tab to activate my shortcut, right? So tab, boom, right? I got my my little bit of a scaffold for my stuff, right? So main article with some 50 words. Okay. And you know what? This is it's in my main, but one thing I forgot to do is put this whole thing in an article. I want to kind of embed this further or nest it inside of the main section here as an article. And you can do that. It further allows us to control certain things, right? So example, I could do something like this. I could say article, right? And I don't need to take this one. I'm just going to cut the ending off this one and kind of put it on the bottom. But it's still inside my main, right? So I'm going to kind of pop it over here. Sometimes formatting is a very important thing for us because we want to kind of organize things. So I'm just going to kind of indent. I like my indentation here. One thing with Microsoft, if you ever use a Microsoft Visual Studio, is it does all this indenting for you a lot of times, right? So just kind of put this in our article, and maybe I want to make a class when I have my article. I might have to, I can use a class to target my this particular article by calling it first article or something like this, right? I could say something like this. So class is equal to first. And again, I like this convention article. I could do that. And again, all I'm doing is marking up my markup, so tagging my markup, if you will, and saying, hey, I've attached a class attribute to this article, which is everything that's inside this green, between these two green spaces here that you saw, right? Between these two green tags right here. This is my code block, right, if you will, or my content block. On the HTML page, and anything that's inside there, because it's tagged with a class of first article, I've indicated that with my attribute, my class attribute. I can use CSS to shoot at that one and change its formatting, right? That's what I want you to do. I have a target now that I can aim for, right? Without CSS, I can only target basic elements, right? So if I didn't have CSS, if I didn't indicate, if I didn't have any kind of style at all, or any kind of class attribute or ID. Now again, you can use IDs here as well, especially if it's the only first article, as an example. And again, maybe class first article isn't the right class name because it indicates there's only one article. Maybe I want to make it a class of article. So all my articles on my web project have a certain styling. So I can do this. That makes more sense, right? Even though I have my element as article, right, I still may want to create my own class. So I don't want to necessarily target all elements, just all elements that have an attribute of a class of article, right? So think of it that way. Right? So I could do this as well. And you know what? Maybe I have another article, right? Like I talked about before. I'm just going to kind of do another one here. I'm going to leave some space. Now I'm kind of building this out from scratch again. I'm doing this on purpose, by the way, because I want to give us a little bit of a review for some of you who missed it, and also to rehash some of this stuff. Now I'm going to use my shorthand again. Let's do my shorthand actually for the whole article. So what's my shorthand? Here's something I want to ask you guys who go on concept board. I want to have an article. Inside my article, I want to have an H2 tag. Inside my H2 tag, it's going to say second heading, right? Next to my H2 tag, I want to have a paragraph tag with lorem text of 50. What's my shorthand? I know it's a lot, but think about what I'm asking. So an article, an H2 tag, a paragraph tag. How do I format that shortcut? I'm going to go to concept board here and see if you guys can come up with it. I'm going to move these away. Is that concept board? Yeah, you just got to go link. You just go to this link, you're good.
I get access to 9.
From here, this link?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Maybe there's too many joiners.
1200.
1200. You can also try and join me on Twitter. If you join me on Twitter, there's a direct link, right? So, yeah, so you're going to go here, and you're going to request to follow me, and then when you follow me, then I'll join you, right? And then next time we kind of come together, right? The bad thing about Twitter is if you're a Twitter follower, is you'll get every time I post a video, boom, you're going to get the Twitter feed, right? So you may not want to see that, but you know, trying to get you guys up there. Maybe I can edit my profile, or you know, change it later on my security settings, so it's not like. But anyways, all it is just this stuff. Like what I'm posting on YouTube. We'll come. There we go. So again, just some admin. I know some people are. Okay, this is Tom. This is boring. We're joining uncomfortable. Why are you doing this? The reason for this is it's a great opportunity for us to kind of save up your work, right? We can kind of, you know, I don't need, it's not because I want you to follow me or anything like that. It's not about that for me. It's all around, hey, let's see if we can, get you guys going on this stuff. And then, you know, I want you guys to collaborate together anonymously as much as possible. This is one suggestion. I'm gonna edit this one for a second. I'm just gonna expand this particular sticky, right? This is one suggestion up here that I got. Article H2 P tag with lorem. Okay, I got another one up here. Again, you can reformat that. Whoever's ever putting that up, lorem 50. That's not bad. Give the H2 tag some text. All right. Maybe the text you want to give the H2 tag is heading 2. And by the way, please don't wipe away anybody else's stuff. Just leave it there, leave it up there. It's almost like a sticky board. We're just putting some stickies up. Even if you put stickies on top of stickies, it's okay. So we're talking about an, you know, this idea here. So this is correct, but I want these articles here as an example, right? This is almost exactly identical. I want the H2 tag to have some text. How do I do that? How do I do some text in the H2 tag, right? The plus, this is interesting too. The plus is it means next to. This is correct. This one here, it says an H2 tag, and underneath the H2 tag is a paragraph tag. So the H2 tag, or the paragraph, would be contained within. Anything that's greater than a sign is contained within. This one here is the one that's right. And then see how it says heading 2? This is the one that I would probably use. So let's try this out. I'm just going to go into edit this one. And I'm going to copy this one here. Copy. Right? I'm going to go pop back into brackets, and I'm going to put this right underneath my second article. I'm just going to kind of paste, right? And then if everything goes well, if I just press tab, it'll do the dirty work for me, right? So heading 2 with that's how it's done, right? I'm getting you to learn the shortcuts because I think it's a really cool thing for you guys to kind of put together. And as we learn new tags, if I want to quickly tag something or quickly format something, or if I miss something, what's the best way? If I miss something, what should I do here if I forgot to do something? Here's my workflow, right? So I've got my shortcut. I got this extra stuff here, and you know what? I forgot something. What should I do? Undo, right? So if I undo, let's say for example, I say, you know what? It's not heading 2 that I want. It's second heading, right? Like I have first heading, second heading, right? And maybe I just don't want one paragraph in my second heading. I want another one too. So when I say next to this one, I want another paragraph heading with lorem of 20, right? So I can do that, and it'll kind of add in additional information, right? And here's a problem that I have, right? So I've got this paragraph text. Here's something that's happened here. And I got a paragraph within a paragraph text. Let's take a look at what I've done here, right? So I've got this paragraph text here. I got a plus sign. Take a look. And this is another thing here. And then plus this. So there's a problem because how this is reading is like this. Take an article, right? Greater than sign means it contains an H2, and then the text of the H2 is second heading, plus next to the H2, there's a paragraph tag that contains lorem text. Now when I put the plus, what's that plus referring to? This plus is referring to the lorem text. It's saying, so next to the lorem text, put another paragraph tag. That's not right. That means the lorem text, your text, will have a paragraph tag as a sibling, next to it. That's not what I want. So how do I make it so that it's exactly what I want? And let me explain. So let's do this. When I pull this up and press tab, and if you notice, I got an error, right? I got an error because the paragraph, the initial paragraph, contains my other paragraph because of the way I've coded my shortcut, right? So, of course, the way to do this, just like it is in code, is use parentheses, right, to section everything, to make it more clear, to the shortcut tool. So if I do one of these, I say one of those, right, and I say I want one of those next to it, and oops, and I want to put one of these with parentheses in here, as an example. Now that's a little clearer. So I'd say, hey, take this article, right? Next to the whole article now, it's this. That's not what I want. So I want to put this inside the article. That's what I want to do, right? So that's not, you see where I'm going with this? You can actually separate these elements, right, so that it makes sense, right? That's what I want. So I say, here's my article, and then next to the H2 tag, I have two things. I have two siblings. One paragraph tag with lorem 50, and another paragraph with lorem 20 words, if you will. And then at the end, I'm going to press tab, and now it's going to give me what I want. Right? Why am I showing you this? Well, there's two reasons. The same shortcut system that I'm showing you is exactly how we use selectors in CSS. You learn this, you've already kind of understanding how to select CSS. You're targeting already without knowing it, right? Actually, it's a really intuitive system. And actually, it's the same thing when we use jQuery, right? Whether you use jQuery, JavaScript, CSS, the way we're doing it, the same shortcut, let me go back, this idea of article and contains H2 with, and all this kind of stuff, it's the same, almost the same syntax, right? That's why it's intuitive for you guys to understand and know this, right? Okay, cool. So we've got paragraph tags and so on that kind of encapsulate everything. All right. So I got a couple of paragraph tags. I need a footer. We got to finish this off. I get a footer, and in my footer, I need a copyright statement. And again, I'm going to use a special code for copyright. You say and copy, which is going to give me that C with a circle around it, right? That little icon, right? And then inside the copyright statement, I'm going to say something like copyright 2015, right? That's what I'm going to put in there. But I want to put this copyright 2015, right, inside, like, let's say, an H4 tag, which is something that I want to put. So kind of another header tag, but it's inside the H4 that I want to put this copyright statement. So I'm going to kind of, cut this and put it into my H4 tag. Here's a question for you. Could it be an H4 tag if I do this? Is this semantically correct, right? Or would you do something else in here? Instead of this H4 tag being up here, would you code this differently? What would you do? I probably should target this with CSS, yeah? So here's the thing to do. How do I target this one with CSS? If I want to make it so that it's not so big, right? We're going to talk about this today, right? I want to make it a smaller text. There's actually a tag I can use here instead of H4. I could say something like small, right? Let's try this out. Let's see what it does for us if I use small, and if that's semantically correct, right? Okay, I'm saving this thing. Okay, let's run this thing. We've done a lot of work on this little page, right? Let's run this thing after I've saved everything and try it out. So I'm going to press my little lightning bolt here, which is my live preview, right? And then it should come up with a Chrome view of my page. So there it is. My copyright text looks pretty right? So if I use small, it's a smaller version of my text. I've got my first heading and second heading. I noticed that my home page has a different link than everything else. How come my home page looks like it's a little purple color as opposed to the other ones? The other ones are blue, and an ugly blue, by the way. I hate this like default hypertext blue, right? But that's just because I've seen it a million times since the 90s, right? Oh, Ghosterly's telling me what's up. So why is this purple? Yeah. Nope, because we haven't assigned it. It's nice. I like your thinking, right? but I haven't assigned any CSS to it. I haven't really targeted my class of active. It doesn't do anything right now, right? But I like your thinking. So why is it that it's purple? Anybody? Well, purple shows us it's a visited link, right? We've already gone to my index.html, right? Index.html is what my page is really called, right? It's my index page, right? And if you notice, if I go back to my my script here on the bottom, the top, I've indicated with an href, this is the one I copied from concept board, that it's index.html, right? Index.html. So that's why, because I've indicated what link it is, there's a different color, a pre-formatted color or a style associated to visited links compared to links that have been unvisited. Okay, that's what it is. So that purple color is that default color, right? That's why you see it. Hey, on that, right? And again, I'm kind of skipping ahead a couple chapters, right? But let's do this now. So I've got my index.html. How do you propose, what's the smart thing to do if I want to create other pages? I want to make my 5-page site, right? I want to do products, services, about us, and contact us. What should I do, right? Well, I could, you know, kind of copy my index.html again and again. I could do that as well, right? So let's just do that first. I'm going to say, I'm going to kind of take this same file and I want to copy it, right? There's a couple ways to do that. You can do that in by just, you know, kind of copying and pasting, right? We'll try that. Sometimes, depending on the text editor you do, it'll allow you to duplicate, right? You could try and do that in your folder structure by copying here, as an example, and then just pasting, right? So pasting item, and it'll be a copy of the item. It'll come up as a copy of index. Let's do that a couple times. In the Mac, it works kind of like this, right? On the PC, you might have another way. You can also do it manually. So I've got, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. 5 pages, right? So here's my 5. So I got 5 copies of my pages, right? And now I just rename them, right? So here's my index, and the next one is, you know, I'll make this a products page, right? We'll do this, make a services page. And we'll make one an about page. We can't call it about us because it has to be correct. We can't leave any spaces when we name our pages. All right, our pages can have underscores in them, the name of our pages, but on the web you can't have any spaces. Spaces are bad, right? You can have dashes or underscores, or you can just have a simple one, kind of a single name, and then contact, right? So here's our contact page. So we've got contact page, about us, contact us, whatever. And this is all inside our main root of our folder. So we have a little bit more structure here than we had before, right? Let me just minimize this for a second and go back, right? So if I look at my pages, like right now, all I'm looking at is my index.html page, but I want to look at my products page, right, as an example. So let's go, here's my products page. And I go into it. My products page is identical, right? Now there's a couple things, right, that I have to kind of show you. One is, if I was going to make a products page, what changes would I want to make to my page to indicate that it's a products page now? Think about this at the top of your head. So would I want to make some changes to my in my head of my document at all? Yes. My title should change. My title should indicate what my page is, what page I'm looking at. So this is cool, COMP1002, lesson 3, but maybe what I want to kind of extend this and say is something like products. Right, here's my products page. Okay, that's one. The other thing is my active link is wrong, right? So here's my active link. I got to move that down. So I'm going to and I don't have, there's no functionality here, but I'm just doing it because this is what it should look like, right? Here's my products page. And you know what? I should probably put in my links. This is kind of a mistake, right? Because I kind of copied my page a little bit, my navigation. I kind of copied my navigation without putting all my links in. So now I have to modify each one of my pages. All right, let's do this one by one. So here's my products page. So try this along with me. You do it by yourself. So here's products. If you notice, it kind of comes up with a suggestion here. Here's products. Might as well do services, so I can link to services, right? And I might as well do about. This is there's not rocket science here. And here's contacts, right? Here's contacts. I've got my links now, right? This is cool. Well, you know what? Now that I've got this, I'm going to copy this over top of the other ones. I'm not going to try. I'm a lazy guy, right? So I'm not going to type this over and over again. Now, so I'm going to kind of take these pieces here, right? As an example, I'm not going to go to my even my main index.html page. I'm going to copy this. Just have to move around my active link now, right? So this is going to mess up my active link, but who cares? I'll fix this in a second. So I'll put it here, right? I'm going to go to my that's my products. Here's my services page. Double click that, put that in there, right? So my links are all going to work now because they have to have. I have to have an href. An href is my hyperlink that points to my page, right? In order for me to get there. Here's my contact page now, right? Replace the nav in there too, right? So my navigation has links now. So here's my index, my products. Let's kill this. Index, products, services, contact. How about my about page? I forgot that one. So let's put that in my about page too, right? I'll save that. And I need to save all the other ones, right? Let's go back to my index for a second. Here's my index page. My index doesn't have a any kind of additional title. So let's change my title from my index page to welcome. So we know that's like kind of our home page. I'll change my active link here. I'll cut this active link out and put it on my first list item, right? Okay, that's one that's different, right? And then let's go to my products page. It's my products page. This is good. It should say products. Here's my services page, right? This should be highlighted on services. So my title should change to COMP1002 Lesson 3 Services, right? Again, some people might just put services. And then we have to change my active link, since we're gonna do the active link thing, to services. Again, we don't have any styling associated with this right now. And the same thing goes with contact, right? I want to change this to kind of contact us. There we go. Contact us on my title. It can say whatever I want, right? It doesn't have to be a single word or whatever. It's SEO specific, so we want to kind of we want to make sure it makes sense. And one thing I missed was my about. So let's go to my about page. Change my title to about us, right? And then move my my active class. Here's my active class to the bottom, or to my about. There we go. All right, so I've kind of got some of that done. That's one part. Now let's go back. My products page, I want it to look a little different. Here's my products page than my home page. So let's kill this whole article in here, this first article on my first heading, and call this first heading in my products page, products, right? We'll leave the lorem text and we'll kill the second article altogether, right? This whole article's got to go, right? So at least we know that it's a products page, right? So because my main H1 tag is going to say products, okay? And by the way, if I'm going too fast, I'm going to go back and summarize in a second, okay? Here's my services page, right? My services page. I'm going to do the same thing for my first article, my services page, kill this second article, right? And go into my H1 tag and put services. Right. And on my contact page, I'm going to do the same thing. Here's my contact page. And later on, we're going to add a form to my contact page, not today, but another day. And my contact page, I'm going to say contact us, because I can say whatever I want in my H1 tag. I'm not limited to a single word like I am for the actual web link. And in my about page, I'm going to do the same thing down in I'm going to kill my second article, and I'm going to go into my head H1 tag and put in kind of about us, right? And this would be like about your company, my team, could be called my team, and some other websites as well. Okay, cool. Oof, lots of changes. So let's review what I did. I took my index page, and it was kind of half cocked there. What I did, right? What I wanted was this nav element and some basic styling, some basic structure to be copied along, because I don't want to do all that again, right? So I wanted to take my structure that I had in my index.html and copy it into these other documents, and my other pages, my other 4 pages, my products page, my services page, my contact page, my about page. Hey, if I ever asked you what's a 5-page site, what are the 5 pages of a basic 5-page site? You should know: home, right? Products, services, contact, and about, right? Those are the 5 pages, right? Of most sites that are out there, by the way. Okay, so that's kind of some pages that we put together. That maybe they may not represent all the pages of your site. You might have all the other pages too. Like, for example, you might have sub-pages that link from your products page. Like, you have a bunch of products you're selling. You might have a certain product that you want to show. Like, let's say maybe I sell something like cool gadgets, I have some kind of gadget that I sell, right? And so I might have a gadget.html page that my product page links to, right? Or maybe, you know, and you guys have seen this stuff before, maybe you have a bunch of services that I want to highlight. Maybe I do, I don't know, I do gadget building, right? That's one of my services. I build a gadget, right? I can build a custom gadget for you, right? Whatever the gadget is, right? Some kind of device, right? I build robotic gadgets that take us into another dimension when I click the button, right? How about that, right? Or have some kind of teleporter. I build teleporters, right? Whatever it is that I build, right? I have it. I might have it in my products page, and maybe I have a services page that. So products are something that I've pre-built. Services might be something that I can do for you, custom work or repair work for the gadgets that you buy from me, right? And then contact is how you're going to reach me. So I'm going to have maybe I have a map. I might have a map of where I'm located, where my gadget repair shop is located. Kind of do, right? All this is marketing, right? Because you guys, when we do web pages, we're part of the marketing department. That's what we are. We're kind of an extension of marketing or advertising for the company, right? That's what we do. We kind of share information. That's what my pages are for, right? To share information about our products and services, whatever they are, right? To the world. Okay. Let's check this out. I'm going to click the lightning bolt now. I'm going to go back into my index page and click the lightning bolt and see what I get from my page, see how it looks now. All right, so I'm going to refresh my page. And if you notice, I've got my links, home, product, services, about us, and contact us. And they're all purple now. They're not, there's no blue at all in here, right? Because they've all been visited. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I click on products now, it's going to teleport me to my products page. See how my products page changes. And up here, you can't see it because I've got a very long title, but it actually says products up here, right? If I click services, right, I see my title's changed. It's hard to see with an S. It says services. About us should say about us, and contact us should say contact us, right? So there are actually 5 pages now that I've got to my site, and they all link together with my nav. So I've got a common nav element, right, that contains my simple navigation to go from one page to the other. Even when I'm in my about page, I'm in my about page right now, or my contact page. This is where I am, right? If I want to go back to my home page, I can click on my home page. Now I'm back on my index.html. I can go back and forth. And this, by the way, with the stuff you're seeing right here is exactly in the 90s what you would see. There's no, you wouldn't see many images at all. If you would, you might see a couple images here. But this is the styling we were talking about. There is no styling. There was no CSS before, right? If anything, we just use images and tables to organize our content, right? So that would be bad. Right? We don't do tables to organize content. The only reason why we use tables, and we're going to talk about tables in a future lecture, right, is to organize data. We put data in a table. We don't put like our content to organize in a table. That doesn't make any sense. But in the past, that's all we had. So we used some way of formatting our content. We used a table, a tabular format, right, to keep track of where our content would be without any CSS, right? That's that kind of. So again, we've kind of done this 5-page set ahead of time. I'm showing you this because there's nothing wrong when you kind of create your next assignment. If you want to break some information down into several different pages, I will reward you with additional points if you were to do this. Don't make one single page. You might want to make a landing page or a home page that's a little exciting and talking about your product. Maybe you're going to make some separate pages to talk about this idea, this invention that changed the world, whatever it's going to be, right? Make it your own. It doesn't take a lot of work here. If you notice, I just copied and pasted it to create my extra pages, right? So worst case scenario, you might want to have a couple of extra images that you want to put in, right? Again, to me, the more you put into it, the more I'm going to give you more higher marks, right? That's kind of taking it further from my perspective. Any questions around what I did here before we move on? Yeah, review or summary. I took a page. I styled it. There's no styling. I structured it with HTML5 and a little bit of shortcuts, right? That's what we did. And we populated with some basic placeholder text. There's nothing, this doesn't mean anything. This lorem ipsum stuff isn't, it's not Latin. It's just placeholder text that means nothing, right? We put it together. And then I've copied it, and I've created my nav, and the only thing I've changed in my page is I've changed my headings. I've changed the active link, if you will, in my nav. So far, it doesn't do anything. And the other thing I've done is I've changed the title of each page, so that way we've indicated which page is what. Yeah.
Okay, so say we've got a 10-page website,
Yeah.
and we're going along, that's great. Then the client goes, you know what? I want to add another page. Now you've got to go into each individual page.
In this, the way we're doing it, yes,
Okay.
yes. There's other ways to do this, right? But this, in the simple way that you're talking about, yes. You have to go into each of your nav elements and add another link, right? Now that might screw you up because it's going to screw up your formatting and so on. And usually, if the client wants add another page, usually it's done if it's a revision. Are we talking about a revision? If it's a revision, then you know, there'd be some kind of change management process where they give you some kind of an order to change something, and then you go in, and over the weekend you'd add all the links to all the pages. If we're going to talk about this structure that we're talking about here, right? Now there's other ways to do this easier, right? So that's one. The other thing is if they're building something out, right? So let's say they've already given you you've already built it out. The page is done, or the whole website's done, and now over the weekend, you know, kind of stuff, they want you to modify what's already there. So one is you're just building it out, you haven't finished your project yet, and they've asked you to change something in your project. You're going to adjust your timelines a little bit, add a little bit more cost because nothing is free, right? Like it's like if you go to a restaurant and you say, and this is a good example, I was talking to Rich about this yesterday, right? I go order a burger at the restaurant and you say, hey man, where's the fries, right? If the menu doesn't say that includes fries, right? You can certainly order extra fries, right? But it's not going to be free, right? So, so if they want to add a change, usually you're going to charge them a little more, adjust your timelines a little bit, and then make all those changes to all the sites. What if it's a 50-page site? What if it's a 100-page site? Now you're getting into trouble, right? Because it's a lot of different, and so you have to think of a different way of doing things. Sometimes what we do is in more advanced scenarios, and actually let me take that back. In most cases nowadays, we have some way of creating partial pages. We're not going to learn that in this course because it's an advanced topic, but what we want to try and do is create partials is what it's called, right? And we need some kind of framework to do that. And the way we do that is by splitting up our concerns. We have a system called, we use a model view controller pattern. We just go to the web and pull up model view controller, for example, to understand this since you're asking the question. It's a good question. Model view controller, right? So what is a model view controller? I'll pull up a little diagram, maybe some images from model view controller, and I'll just pull up the one that I see a lot, this one. Here's a model view controller, right? So what you have is you have the user, right? And in a more advanced scenario, he wants to see a web page, right? And different piece parts of that web page are going to render, right, when he requests the web page. But what happens is, as he goes to the web page, right, the controller accesses the model, right? So your web project is broken up into pieces, right? And one part is the idea of views. These views can be partial views. Like for example, the nav view, which gets smashed together with the content, right? Nav view sits somewhere else. You modify the nav one time, all your pages nav is modified at the same time. You do it once. That makes more sense, right? But you need a different framework, a different pattern for working that we're not going to get to, at least for a couple of courses, because you need to understand this pattern. So right for now, I need you to do longhand. You're going to go through and you're going to modify every page. But eventually, you're going to get to the point where you can use partial views, right, and this whole model view controller pattern to change, you know, the way you manipulate your project and what the user sees. I know it's really scratching the surface here, but we'll get into it more in other courses. Okay. Any questions around this stuff? So again, all we've done so far is created a basic 5-page site. And I'm putting the 5-page site example up there because if I go to pretty much any site out there, let's go to Apple as an example. You know, that's a pretty good example of a pretty good site, right? You got your logo on the top left corner. And again, my logo probably would be, and by the way, I'm not an Apple advocate or anything like that more than anybody else. I got my logo, I've got my products, and instead of breaking them down into one big products page, what they've done is they've broken the products out into, because that's what they do, into several different pages, right? And they also have their services page, like music is a service that they offer, right? Their services page is kind of on their own. So here's music. This is one service that they offer, right? And they also have a support page for anything else that you need. Just an additional page other than our 5-page example, right? Plus on the menu tab here, on the tab, let me go back to the main site here, you also have some kind of searchable, the ability to search your site with different things. So that's just Apple, right? And most sites have that. On the bottom, they also have some secondary navigation in the footer, right? With things like privacy policy, terms of use. I'm gonna move this up a little bit so you can see. You know, what language we've selected as a default language in place. Here's my copyright statement right here. Copyright 2015, Apple Inc. Right? Same thing that we have in our footer. And they also have this piece here, almost like a expanded footer area that has this secondary nav. Right? So you'd have another nav element in here with a bunch of other links, right, to other pieces of their site. But again, the idea of the 5-page site kind of carries forward, whether you're on Apple or something else. Let's look at one more example. Let's go look at Autodesk. Right? So we're going to go to autodesk.com. They supply products for, you know, for like AutoCAD in the industry and stuff like this, different illustration applications and 3D applications and so on, right? So here's their page, right? Let's take a look at how different this one is. See, for them, what they've done is they've created a mobile first page, right, which is a little bit different. And they've buried their navigation in this menu button. So if I click the menu button, you can see that they got, what do they got? Products, support, so that might be something that they replace services with. Support and learning, right? Downloads, again, that could be a service, if you will, as well, or a product. Buy, definitely a product, another link to their product page. About, right? And some kind of, they must have some kind of contact information down here. Look, they have social media contacts down here, right? I'm sure if I move this around too, they have other things, right? So the idea is very similar. I mean, it's, you know, it's one way or another. You've seen one site, it's kind of, you've seen them all, right? In some ways, just they've just framed it a little nicer, right? Like one thing I like about the Autodesk page is the tessellation that we see in their design, right? That's a design element that we see here. See this whole idea of these triangles that they use. It's a theme that they've carried forward, right? They've got paneling. I'm just going to kill this for a second. They've got paneling in here for each of their pages. So here's a panel, right? And here's another panel. See how it almost takes up my entire page? Here's another panel down here. It doesn't force me to go to these panels, almost like a PowerPoint presentation, right? I've broken up my page into several sections, right, that I can view. That's a very modern way of doing things. Just a little bit about design, right? So here's my my other page, and you see that they have a common tessellation here. That's that they use these triangles plus some hexagons. Hexagons are hot right now, guys. If you use hexagons on your page, you know you see them in all kinds of pages out there. It's pretty hot. You see hexagons, right? Same thing with you know, descriptive and colorful icons, right? Icons are the way we do things right now, right? Again, you see the panel, the tessellation, a little bit of bright colors, right? But each panel takes up pretty much one page, right? So very, very modern design, you know, and it's a good place to look for that kind of stuff. There's other sites as well that you can look at, but at the bottom, look what they have. Same as Apple. They have their copyright statements, right? Then their footer. Let me move this up for a second so you guys can see. Some legal notices and so on, privacy policy, all the same stuff that you would see in any page you see out there. Products, some kind of support, how to buy stuff, how to contact. Here's careers, contact us. They have a little contact us page down here, and so on. It exists, but every client highlights different aspects of their design because it makes sense for them. Just like if you were to do a resume today, which is really your kind of marketing for you. You're marketing yourself when you make a resume, right? If you're just starting out and you're a student, you're gonna kind of highlight your education, right? You're gonna say, hey, look, this is my education because this is what you got. Maybe you don't have a lot of career experience, right? So you're gonna highlight your education. Later on, as you progress in your career and you work at a few jobs, right? You're gonna put your education at the bottom, right? And then you're gonna reformat your resume so that way your jobs are the ones that are highlighted, right? Let's say especially if you're entry level, right? You're gonna put a few jobs and so on, and some details about the information around your job, maybe some kind of objective and so on. And then as you get into like, mid-level to high level, you want to kind of really go into detail about some of the jobs you do, talk about the awards and any kind of highlights you have for each of the jobs and how one job has kind of teleported you into the next. How do you, what's the link? How did I move from one job to the other? Your resume should tell a story. Same thing with your websites. Your website should tell a story. Your website should be a narrative, right, for what you want to tell your customers, right? If you're selling yourself, you're selling your products and services, what is your website saying, right? So you're going to highlight certain things. Maybe my contact information isn't as important. I want you to connect with me on social media, right? That's more important than connecting with me directly. Autodesk is a big company. Do you really want to call them up on the line? Probably not unless you have a problem, a support problem. And I'm probably going to give my number on the support section. If I have a support section with Autodesk, which I do, let's click on support and learning. I might want to click support, right, as an example. And maybe I can support myself by product. Right, so let's go into my products. I want to say, you know what? I got a question about Maya. You know, Autodesk Maya. How do I get that information? I click Maya, right? Here's my product, right? And I can get started. I can do some downloads, some troubleshooting, that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of things I can pull up, so I can do my own support, right, without calling in. And if I click on troubleshooting, by the way, it's probably going to take me to one of these tabs here, and it's going to talk about more things about, you know, common issues with Maya, especially things like system requirements for Maya. Maya has some specific systems requirements. It's going to give me a lot of information so I can avoid making that call to the support department. Why would it do that, right? Because it costs money, right? If I call support, every support call that I make to get supported, it costs them money to set up an agent, you know, to respond to your support call and so on. So they highlight different things on their page in order for you, and give it enough information for you, they hope that you can fix your problem on your own, kind of like in a one and done approach. So the 5-page site that we're talking about today, although it's not in your book and it's not highlighted right now, is something that I want you to take away. It's something that you can look at, the pattern that we're talking about, even though it might look differently and it might be laid out differently on every single web page that you see. That idea, the idea that I'm selling myself something, or communicating my products and services, right? For the most part, if that's what I'm doing, that's what's going to be online. Now, that's for one type of site. How about other sites? There's other sites out there that don't have products or services. What other sites are there like that? Anybody have an idea? So I don't have products and services on my site. What kind of site would that be? Right. And I'm asking these questions to kind of get you to think about stuff for a little bit, right? What about Wikipedia, right? Does that have products and services? Not really. I mean, it has a product that it kind of puts out there, but there's no selling. It's actually sharing information, right? That's one thing it does. So an informational site, right? So there are no products and services for Wikipedia, right? I'm just giving you an example of that. Yeah. Social media, that's another one. So Facebook, but Facebook does have services that they offer, and Facebook does have products. They have apps and stuff that they sell. Twitter, same thing. Twitter sells a bunch of stuff too. And how about Google? Google has products and services all over the place. They sell Google platform, man. They ask you for, they have products, they have Google Docs and all kinds of other stuff, right? So, but generally you're right. Most other things like social media and stuff like that, there's different kinds of sites. But for the most part, if you're going to sell your products, let's say you have an uncle, cousin's brother that says, Marissa, you know what? Can you make a site for me? Right? I'm your cousin. I say, Marissa, can you make a site for me? And because I have a manufacturing plant, I manufacture widgets or gadgets, like we said before, right? You know, what am I going to ask for? 5-page site. Chances are some modification of my 5-page site. One more thing, modification on the 5-page site. I have my products. Sometimes my products page turns into e-commerce, right? What I mean by e-commerce, very popular nowadays. You know, we want to shop online, right? So my products are featured there, but there's also a way for me to buy my products. I might have a product catalog, right? Maybe I can either buy my products online or request a quote. That's a very common kind of pattern that you see out there right now. Products I can buy, or just, you know what, I don't want to share my prices with you because I make custom products, right? I make custom widgets, so I don't have a price. But if you request a quote, you have some specifications you want to put together. I'll put together a custom widget or a gadget for you, and I'll sell it to you, right? Request a quote. So that's very popular as well. All right, so again, the pattern is still there. Any questions around 5-page site, how we just did that in with brackets, like, you know, just a very simple way of doing it. There's still pieces that are missing here, right? We don't have any images, right? We don't have any images that we've included in our design, right? And we don't have any additional information. Like, we're going to have to add in additional information here for our products and services. I've made my pages very simple, just from you know, so you can link to them and so on. And there's no style, right? But at least this way, you know, you understand how to put things together. Okay, let's take a short break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop recording. take a short break and go right into the PowerPoint presentation after this to kind of highlight we're going to make some changes to our little 5-page structure. And in the meantime, I'm also, while you guys are taking your 10, I'm going to pop this thing up on GitHub. So if you've done things different than me, you can all go up on my GitHub account and download or see my actual code so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so let's take a short break.